Let's do a fun makeover on this beautiful sofa table. I started out by mixing some salt wash, which is a texture additive. It's a powder that you add to your paint to give it a thicker consistency, and then when you use it, it provides the ability to give you texture, which can look worn and old or just give you dimension. Now this piece was pretty slick. It is a newer piece of furniture, so by adding the texture, it helps with the paint's adherence. I did just use a chalk style paint. Any kind of clay-based chalk-based paint will work. I am taking a stiffer brush and kind of just tapping it. That ensures that I'm not just getting a smooth stroke, but I want to have the texture really show up on my piece, and you'll see why in the next few steps. So I am just tapping away and adding that to the piece. Now when I do that, I take the salt wash and I actually sprinkle it over the wet paint that already has salt wash mixed into it. Then I take my spray bottle and I spritz it. This will really make the salt wash adhere to the wet paint. So you're going to do this in sections at a time. So basically the paint with the texture medium added is applied. While that is wet, sprinkle the salt wash into the paint. And then we're going to let that dry too. There is a method to my madness, which you will see later on. Tap. You can even see it in the video that the texture is raised up on this piece, which is exactly, we want this to look like layers of crusty finish. So you're going to keep doing that. You're going to sprinkle the salt wash over the top. And when you do that, you're going to spray it with a little bit of water. I just take little clumps of it. Wherever you lay the salt wash, that's going to present a resist to the piece. So then I'm going to take my fine mist sprayer and just kind of mist it a little bit. I'm not trying to saturate it, I'm just trying to mist it. We're going to do the whole piece. It's a little bit trickier to do the salt wash, put it on the sides, because obviously they're not laying flat, right? So you got to kind of throw it. It's funny to watch me do this. I'm like taking it and trying to throw it at the piece so it will stick. I'm not so concerned about it on the legs. I will get some on there, but I'm going to take little pieces and just throw it. Throw it. Now it is much easier, obviously, if you have a big piece of furniture and like a dresser that you want to do this to just lay it flat. Now the salt wash is dried, and we're going to go over it with another coat of paint. Now this paint does not have any additive in it. This paint is just pure chalk paint. This is a white color that I am using, and I did use Dixie Belle's Fluff on this, and I'm just going to try to tap around because I really don't want to dislodge the salt wash that's on there. So I'm just tapping over the dried salt wash finish. Right? Crazy. Don't worry if it doesn't get totally filled up. This whole piece is supposed to be chippy, cool, textured, so it's okay. This is the best kind of painting to do when you're messy like I am, and you want to know how to get those super fun, cool layers that you don't get any other way except by age. So this is a faux aging process. So we're just tapping. You can still see the dark brown through it, right? And that's exactly what we want. We're not trying to cover 100%. We're only going to do one layer of the white paint. We're not going to do any more. You can see that the salt wash is not falling off. It has dried, but when I go over it, I'm going to tap it because I don't want to wipe it all off. If I wipe it off, it kind of will do away with the whole reason I threw that salt wash on there in the first place. So you're just kind of tapping it. You're going to get it in your brush. It's okay. Just keep tapping around it. When you get to the places where there is no salt wash, you can obviously just move your brush. Remember, your base layer with the dark brown had texture in it, so you're still going to get a really cool textured finish. So tap, just tap. We'll do the legs, we'll do the bottom, we'll do the whole thing. Tap. So we're going to take a putty knife when the white paint is dry, and what we're going to do is we're going to scrape off where we drip that salt wash down. Remember where we clumped it on with our hands? What that's going to do is we're going to remove it, and underneath is going to be that original layer. What this does is it creates a very natural looking finish that I wouldn't be able to get any other way. Yeah, I'm really going to town with this putty knife because I'm using high quality chalk paints to start with. This is why the paint's adhering so well. So I am just scraping off whatever layer, and where I clump the salt wash, I'll just scrape it off. When I wax this finish, you will be able to see that dark brown come through even more. Right now it's kind of opaque-y white because the salt wash is white. So the salt wash, you can't really see it until I put a wax. Then just dust it off. Distress more if you want with your putty knife or with a piece of sandpaper. And it's not gonna be super rough. It's gonna be super amazing. So I'm just gonna work my putty knife and make sure that whatever little parts of salt wash I dripped down, you know, when I dropped it, that I just scrape that off. I can feel it with my hands. And what it's going to do, it's going to chip away, and it's going to leave that beautiful color underneath that we started with. Isn't that crazy? I'm going to wipe off the excess dust. Then when we do wax it, you'll be able to see it more. Now, wherever I drop more of the salt wash than less, my things will be thicker. They'll be bigger. They'll be bigger areas. So don't be afraid to add a lot of salt wash if you want it to look super chipped up. I've done this on an entire dresser and tried to do different finishes. So sometimes I add a lot of it because remember where we added it, that's the resist layer. So now we're just chipping it off because remember we sprayed it so it kind of dried. And now we're basically just chipping off that salt wash that's sitting there. And then when we wax it, like I said, it's going to come through so good. It's gonna be so pretty. So this one a little bit more came off than the other one, which is totally fine. Don't stress about the little things. When you're looking at a chippy finish, it's not gonna be level, it's not gonna be even, and it's not gonna be uniform. Because guess what, folks? It's not supposed to be. Now I grabbed a piece of 150 sandpaper and I went ahead and went around all the edges so that I could get more, especially this drawers have kind of like little, you can see them little levels of trim, little insets, little around. So I'm sanding just right there. What that's doing is bringing that dark color through to the top. Now I'm taking some clear wax. Do you see now how much the salt wash will dissipate? And now that dark color is coming through, the darker color. I think it's, to be honest with you now, I can't remember if that's a dark brown or a black. I think it's a black that I used. It is coming through. Yep, it's black. And so that is sealing the piece also. Basically, that's it. This drawer is done now, besides putting the hardware back on. But look at how much it aged it. Oops, I lied. It's not done. I'm going to add some dark wax around the edges, and then I'm going to wipe it off. So we clear waxed it first to seal it. Then the dark wax is going to sit in those corners and add even more definition. I was using a dark brown wax. Black sometimes is a little harsh. And so it's just adding more layers, more aging to make it look older. The key to using dark waxes, you guys, is always to put a clear wax first, so that way when you put the dark wax on, it will help so that you can wipe it back up and wipe it off. I just want it to go set into those corners to just add another level of dimension. It really does help with the dimension of a piece when you add the dark waxes in the corners. You can wipe off as much as you want. You don't want to see lines. You don't want it to have lines down it. So if for some reason when you put your darker waxes on, it's too much, look at the difference. Can you see the difference, the dimension, right? It's insane. Same thing we're going to repeat with this one. You can notice as I put the clear wax over where the black is, it really brightens it up and it comes back to life. The salt wash is a white color, so it does have a white opaque thing until you wax it. Brings it right back. This kind of paint treatment is how you get that super chippy cool thing. If you wanted to do layers of colors, you could do that. You could do like another layer. You could have done the same thing, painted it again, then drop the salt wash on top and paint another color on the top. You could add so many different layers to get so many different looks. It's such a fun way to do this. Now when you add the dark wax, just remember to wipe it off And then if for some reason it's too dark, dip your rag back into your clear wax and wipe again, and it will help remove it. But we always clear wax first. See how right there, it just gives it that dimension in those corners. In the little crooks and nooks is what I call them, because it is the best way to get the coolest finishes, right? Dimension and depth is what we're looking for in our furniture. So this piece, I normally do vintage furniture, but this piece was too good to pass up. This is a higher end piece of furniture that I picked up. I actually bought 4 of these tables, and I've done all of them, and they just all turned out differently and beautiful and just so much fun. So I'm going to continue to do this on the base of the piece. Those are the drawers. And we're going to continue to just chip it off. So I want to do a section at a time. I don't want to, you know, wax the whole thing or do the dark wax on the whole thing and then go back. When you're doing the waxes and finishes, I like to do one section at a time, finish it, move on to the next. So you guys choose what's easier for you. I was able to get a little bit of salt wash on those legs. It's hard. It's really hard to get it on this up and down features, right, of a piece. It's just what it is. But running that sandpaper over there also brings out that little bit black underneath, gives it even more layers, right? So super fun. And I'm using a 150 grit sandpaper on this. Buy good quality sandpaper too, you guys, please. Go to a paint store and buy a contractor's pack of sandpaper. There's some places that I won't buy sandpaper from. I just go to the local paint store, you know, that sells house paint and stuff, and buy a contractor pack. It's much cheaper. Sandpaper's expensive. And then it comes in a big sheet, and I tear it in fourths and fold that fourth into fourths and use all 4 sides. So lots of uses out of a whole entire 8 by 11 sheet of sandpaper. But isn't that beautiful? This piece turned out so well, it sold within a day. Here's the end result. I hope you guys liked it. Please remember to like, subscribe, ask me questions if you need. More videos coming up soon. You guys, I say this every time. Go out and be fabulous, and thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps my small business stay in business. Thank you.